Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only BodkinShow. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Bodkin Show. I am your host, Bodkins, of course. Man, it is a wonderful Sunday. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. Lots of sports. This was a lot of sports weekend going on yesterday. Yesterday, we had Mavs closed it out in Game 6. Today, you had two Game 7 about to kick off. Nuggets and Wolves. Pacers pulled the upset in Game 7 in New York earlier today. My Cubs played. I was watching little Caitlin Clark. Everybody's shitting on my girl Caitlin right now. She's played well outside of the second game. My lamp's messing up here. But the team's not very good, and it's going to take some time. She's got to think she hasn't had a lot of practice with this team that she straight from the NCAA draft straight into the season almost. So it's not a lot of practice, not a lot of reps with this group of girls that she's playing with. So everybody seems to be shitting on her. They love to, that's the world we live in. They love to prop you up and then shit on you, when you suck. But it's just, it is what it is. I think she's going to be great. I think she'll be just fine. She scored 20 yesterday. The team stinks. Remember, they've had back-to-back first-round picks. So, but nonetheless, then we had some MMA going on yesterday as well. Nice win in the Apex for Murphy. Also can't forget the undisputed heavyweight championship that happened yesterday. Alexander Usyk beats Tyson Fury in a very close, goes the distance. The highlight was probably Usyk putting Fury. While he didn't go down, it's crazy how he didn't fall down, but had him on the ropes there. Then was kind of saved by the bell a little bit. Usyk started out hot, then Fury goes, and then Usyk, I felt like Usyk won the last two rounds to kind of secure it. The huge, I think it was like the 10th or the 11th, or it had been the 9th or 10th, I can't remember, maybe the 8th, where he rocks Fury pretty good. So it'll be interesting. But I don't want to keep our guests. As you guys know, Sunday is our sit down where we sit down one-on-one with all types of guests. So I don't want to keep our guests waiting tonight. This man does speak. We talked a little MMA. I mentioned the Apex. Obviously, we talk MMA every Wednesday night and head kicks and haymakers with my guy Whit. So we know we have a passion here at the Bodkin Show for MMA, and why not bring in a guy who has his own MMA podcast. Fighters are breaking news on his podcast almost every week, announcing their fights. He also participates and trains in the mixed martial arts. Give it up for host of KrazyKevMMa, my guy, for the first time ever. Welcome to the Bodkin Show, Kev.
What's going on? Let's go. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming on, man. Or thank you so much for having me on, man. I love it. Thank you, man.
I appreciate it, Kev. Let's start there. You're host of the KrazyKevMMa. How did you get started with that? And then you have gotten some big guests on your podcast. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Like, yeah. So, man. So I just started doing my very first interview. It was February 24th with Terrence McKinney. I just kind of was like, what could be my excuse to talk to a fighter? Maybe I'll just do an interview and see what Terrence McKinney's up to. And, he's always active on social media. So I just shot him a DM, was like, yo, man, you want to do an interview? And got back to me in like an hour and was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, I wasn't expecting that. And then he was like, you want to do it soon? And I was like, oh, I'm not ready, man. Give me a couple days. And gave me a couple days. And I just kind of started like that. I don't have any media experience, anything like that. I was just trying to figure out a way to kind of, be a face in MMA community because like you mentioned, I've been training in Taekwondo for, 19 years now and teaching for 6 years. So, I think I got a lot of potential in this game because, I do this stuff and I love MMA. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Yeah, talk to me about that. How'd you get into Taekwondo? Is that like something you started as a kid, or how does that develop?
Yeah, man. So I started when I was 5 years old, and I've been doing it for, like I mentioned, 19 years now. It's going to be 20 in October. So with that being said, I haven't taken any breaks. I love it. And how I got started was basically back in the days, they used to do Tiger Schulman commercials. And with the Tiger Schulman commercials, they used to have a bunch of the kids and just adults just kind of doing the karate and whatever they were doing. And every time it would come on, it was just like I would start joining them, trying to do all the kicks and punches like them. And then at the end, they would always have the 1-800-TIGER. I'd always be writing it down, trying to give my mom the number, like, hey, call these guys. I want to do it. And, unfortunately, there's no Tiger Schulmans in the area for me. So to this day, actually, I've never been to a Tiger Schulman. There's a couple UFC guys that actually train there. So it's a legit gym. It's awesome. And, with that being said, I found the guys that were doing, I guess, a karate demonstration one day. And it was awesome. And after that demonstration, they handed me a free class. And I went in, I guess, that same week or maybe the following week. And that's how I met my teacher. My teacher was like 18, 19 years old at the time. And he's been my teacher ever since. He's one of the best martial artists to me in the world and a great role model. And who knows what my life would be without martial arts. And that's kind of how I got into this game.
Yeah. So talk to me like that process of like leading up, like what is it like matches for Taekwondo? How does that work out? Like you're built into that.
Yeah. So when it comes to just like tournaments, it depends what you want to compete in. I mean, when it comes to like these martial arts tournaments, there's things called like forms, which is maybe like an imaginary battle with like an opponent where you do like traditional stuff like blocks and stances, all that kind of stuff. You also have like weapons competitions, which is kind of the same jazz when it comes to that, but you're just doing it with a weapon. You also have, like you're mentioning, the sparring where you do these sparring competitions against these guys where you're doing all stand up, and every competition is different. Some of them is point fighting. Some of them is like continuous 2-minute round, and just kind of whoever wins that 2-minute round is the winner of the match. And then you also got, of course, breaking as well too, where you might have to come up and break like 3 or 4, different styles of breaks. Like, for example, at martial arts tournaments, at least when I used to do them, they would always think that kicks would score higher than hands. So I would have like maybe 2 or 3 awesome kicks I'd like to pull off, and then maybe a solid hand technique through a bunch of boards. And like I said, depending on the tournament, depending on what I was feeling, that's what I would typically do. But the one big thing with Taekwondo tournaments, there's not a lot of weight classes with it, at least the ones that I was doing. So it was kind of like, there'd be guys I could be sparring that are like, a whole foot taller than me, and I also got like 70 pounds on me. And it's just like, just kind of how it is. You know what I mean? It's just, if you want to do it, it's kind of what you had to deal with.
There's no weight classes, so it's just like it's literally like what Joe Rogan was talking about on his podcast. Like, just get rid of weight class, like UFC 1 style, like no weight classes.
Yeah, basically, like I said, there's been a couple guys that are like, like 6'2", 6'3", they're pretty jacked, and then you got a guy like me that are just towering over me. Like with Taekwondo, with the point sparring and stuff, people that are really good with their kicks and stuff, they just use it like a jab. And with me being so short, it's just like, they're just going to tag me all day with that stuff. And it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be fair at times with that kind of stuff. But, that's just kind of the name of the game with it sometimes.
What was your like favorite event that you got into that you were, or like either your favorite, both, it could be different, your favorite or the one like you excelled the most at?
I would say the weapons competitions is what I probably was the best at and what I was known for. Yeah, man, I would love it. And, for people that might not know what a form is, it's like I said, it's all those like stances, blocks, all that different kind of fancy stuff you have to do. And it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of memory. And it's like I said, it's a lot of fun. And that was definitely the thing I would say I was best at for sure.
What kind of weapons like would you use? Like,
so I'd use a little bit of everything. When it would come to competing, I would mainly use the bow. And when it would come to just like training in general, I've used a little bit of everything. I've used the bow. I've used, which is like the long kind of stick looking thing, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We all watched Ninja Turtles as kids. We know what you're talking about.
Good. We got the nunchucks back there. I don't know if you can see them. They got the represent ones for Nate Diaz as well.
Hell yeah.
I got the commas. I'm actually wearing his represent hat as well too. Shout out to Nate Diaz and the gang.
Hell yeah! But, hey, Nate's great.
Yep. We got the commas as well too. Swords. I guess the size as well too. Like you said, the Ninja Turtles, another weapon there. Kali sticks, just a little bit of everything. So, but my main weapon of choice for competition was always the bow. I never used anything else.
Nice. Are we finishing first every time out, or like what are we? Were we kicking ass the whole time, or do we? I mean, everything like every other time. You feel like you got to take some lumps and bruises. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would do fairly well when it comes to tournaments. Like I said, I specialized pretty well in weapons competitions. I've won a couple of world champion tournaments, so I've done my thing when it comes to that. I wouldn't say I'm like the best at it or anything like that, but I've obviously been to tournaments where I thought I did really well and it didn't score great. You've also go to tournaments where they're lower level tournaments, and it's like some of the judges are from the same school as the guy that got second or first place. It's like, oh, I wonder how that happened. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So you get a little bit of everything when it comes to that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think I did fairly well when it came to the weapons competitions and any other thing I kind of competed in. But like you mentioned, I definitely had my bumps and bruises. I've done some things where I thought I did pretty well and I didn't end up placing. And I've also done some things where I was like, well, I didn't think that was the best, but I ended up doing pretty well. So it just kind of depends on the day, I guess.
Depending on the judges, right? I mean, as I like to say in the MMA world, you can't, let's try not to leave it to the judges, because you never know what the hell's going to happen. What does practice look like for when you're doing that? Are we doing like, is it, hey, one day I'm going to practice with the weapons, one day I'm going to practice my striking, or how does that look like?
It all depends what my martial arts teacher says, man. Whatever he's feeling, that's what I do. So if he wants to train weapons, I'm training weapons. Every class is different, I guess. I mean, there'll be certain days where like, this day we're going to be focusing a little bit more on forms. This day we're going to be doing a little bit more on weapons. This day we're going to be doing a little bit more sparring. But I mean, my martial arts teacher, he would like to always mix it up, keep us on our toes and that kind of deal. So like, I wouldn't say I was like doing like an hour of this, half hour of that. It was kind of like I'd show up to the class and let's see what he's got today. That's kind of how it would go a lot of the time.
Is that how you teach your students now? How do you go about teaching now?
So with my premier martial arts that I'm at, we kind of have a curriculum we kind of have to follow, and they kind of layer out our classes that we have to teach. So I do have a little bit of creative freedom, but I also do have a curriculum that I have to teach as well too. So when I will have my own place, I'll obviously kind of be a little bit more open with that kind of stuff and do a little bit more of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm still teaching weapons. I'm still teaching all the other stuff that I was doing, but it's not as, I guess, free as I would like it to be at the moment. But that's just the name of the game at the moment. And one day I'll have my own place. That's the goal.
Hey, amen to that. As far as like MMA, how did you get start watching that? Like, was there like a fight, or was it just like you started doing the Taekwondo? Did you ever think about ever getting into the octagon yourself?
When it comes to just like getting into it, I would watch a lot of The Ultimate Fighter with my parents. I can't remember the first one that I ever watched, but that was always like kind of like our show that we would kind of watch together. It kind of brought us together with that kind of thing. And I would definitely say too, me and my dad watched it a ton. Was Bully B-Town, man. That show does not get enough credit. I freaking love that show. I wish they would bring it back. And shout out to Mayhem Miller, man. He actually commented back on one of my I shot him a message on Instagram. He actually commented back, and I was like, that was the one time I was kind of like fanboying a little bit. I was like, oh my god, my dad would be so happy I was talking to this guy, because we would always watch him together. And when it comes to competing, man, it's something I always like thought about, but I'm realistic. You know what I mean? I was just talking to Waldo Cortez in an interview a couple hours ago, and he was saying the same thing. You know what I mean? Taekwondo is fantastic on the feet, but like you saw, if I get taken down, I'm kind of going to be a fish out of water unless I kind of get my ground game going a little bit. So with Taekwondo, I think I'd probably be doing pretty well in kickboxing. If I keep growing, I wouldn't mind doing like a kickboxing fight, maybe against another influencer, try to get some money, a good promotion. I think that would be a ton of fun.
Ben the Bane Davis.
Exactly. Speaking of Ben Davis, I did talk to him about that, and I was like, dude, I know you got connections with Misfit Boxing. I don't want to do boxing because, I'm a Taekwondo guy. I'd rather kick somebody. But, if you got any sort of like influencers that are down, make some money, I'm down to make some money and kind of have a good time with it. You know what I mean? Why not?
What about like karate? Was it Karate FC? I know.
Karate
that's
Combat.
Kind of growing. It's Karate Combat. Yeah, I know that's kind of gotten big over the last 2-3 years. I haven't really like sat down. I've watched like highlights. You know what I mean? Like I haven't really sat down and watched like beginning to end. But I know Luke Rockhold just had like his a win there, and you see high level UFC guys even in Karate Combat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, Karate Combat's a fantastic organization. It doesn't get enough love yet. And yeah, I mean, Karate Combat is actually one of the goals. I'd like to go and see it. I think they do a lot of shows in Florida, which isn't too far away from me. So I definitely would love to go there, check one of their shows out. And yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Karate Combat. I don't know if it's just only pro fighters and stuff, but hey, if they want to have an influencer one day, I could definitely be the face of it. Like I said, 19 years, man. I've been doing it for my whole life pretty much. So why not give me a shot one day on the prelims, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you got a base though. I mean, as you know, as far as like if you wanted to get into the octagon, if it was something like you wanted to do, like obviously the ground game. I mean, we see a lot of guys, but in the UFC is the elite of the elite, but they're still getting into the UFC where you look at their ground game, you're like, oh, if it gets taken to the ground, they could be in trouble. But as an amateur, you could probably be all right just to get into the octagon, even as just like an amateur, to fight somebody that's probably similar skill level.
Yeah, 100%. I guess the other thing is too, just from training my whole life, like at the moment I'm dealing with this is my second injury with it now. I'm dealing with 2 torn labrums at the moment, each of my shoulders. So it's like I'm super banged up from training for just 19 years straight. Because there's a lot of martial artists that say like, oh, I've been training for like 30 years, but they went to college, it took like 5 years off. But like not me, man. Like I've just been kind of in it 5 days a week nonstop. Like this is just my life. It's just kind of I don't know anything different. So
how old were you when you started? How old were you when you started?
5 years old, man.
And so you're what, 25 now?
24. And I'm going to be, I'll be hitting the 20-year mark around, I guess, October.
Ah, nice, man. That's incredible. Man, that's a long time. That's people's whole career that they do something at 20 years. Yeah. So to start at a young age, you definitely got, you got a lot of experience. And I would tell you, if you got in there with, anybody amateur wise, I'd probably put some money on you, Kev, because, 20 years, you could probably be good enough to keep the fight standing and know enough to get back up, back up. You may not be submitting. The submission might be plus, a couple thousand, but, I might even sprinkle some on you for that, brother.
Yeah. Like I said, man, the amateur scene would be interesting. Like I said, I'm definitely realistic with myself. I know I don't have the best ground game because, I'm a white belt on the mats, just straight up. And but when it comes to my striking, I definitely think I can hang with some of these amateurs, just anybody in general, because like I said, I definitely think that's my bread and butter. But, I'm not a fantastic guy. I'm not the best striker in the world. But, I definitely think, like you mentioned, some of these amateurs that have only been training for a couple of years, I definitely think.
What's good, MMA BG?
Oh, that's the homie. Is that the base goddess?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up.
I'm with you on that. I think you'd be just fine. Let me ask you. You said you remember watching Tough, and now we're getting. Was there another fight though, like a fight that sticks out to your mind? Like, this is the sport that I want to follow for a while.
I can't say that there was a certain Ultimate Fighter fight, but I could say maybe like the personalities and stuff. It was just like, like I loved WWE as a kid. And then it was just like watching the fights and, obviously finding out the wrestling is scripted and all that stuff. And then you see these guys and it's like, it's not scripted. These guys are beasts. And like, I think that was just kind of what made me fall in love with it a little bit more. I mean, there's a ton of Ultimate Fighter guys that I love and look up to, but I can't really pinpoint like a certain fight that would be.
What about, I meant like outside of even Tough, like outside of Tough.
Oh man, there's a ton of great fights, man. I mean, it's gonna sound pretty generic, but I mean, like I said, I started watching The Ultimate Fighter with my parents. I was pretty young, but obviously, of course, that Forrest Griffin fight, obviously everyone remembers that one. And I think that was the one that was like, whoa. I gotta keep watching this, but shout out to Chuck Liddell too, man, with his freaking mohawk back in the days. I remember being in third grade having my mohawk too. So I definitely think that he was a big inspiration to me too. And Mayhem Miller, like I mentioned, with freaking Bully Beatdown, man, he's the man, and he definitely got me to love MMA a lot too.
Chuck Liddell really he was. To me, was like Connor, pre-Connor, right? Like he was the kind of, and there's a couple guys that but he was like the guy that they were trying to, be our face with the mohawk and kind of be our guy. And then once he got knocked out by Rampage and then a couple more knockouts, it was like we need a new guy. And then obviously the Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, not Nate was around them times too, but Conor really took the flag and started running with it. And you mentioned, like, I grew up a wrestling fan as well, like WWE, still am. Like, I love both. I feel like you can be a fan of both. You just, and you get crossovers at times. Like, you understand when fighters are trying to build a fight and they're playing like that heel character, right? Like, a la Colby Covington, from everything that we know. Even Connor at times, like that's he's playing a character. It's a heel character. It's this person, or you get behind people with good stories because you grew up a wrestling fan, right? And that's why you attach yourself to the face because, they have a great storyline, a story, a personality. And you get guys like guy just last night, the guy from South Africa. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Right? Yeah. I mean, cutting a cold ass promo. First of all, why is everybody hating on this man? He was crying because his coach's mom died of cancer, and people are going on this is how awful we are as society. You're making fun of this guy because he's crying because his coach's mom died of cancer while they were stateside. Like, get out of here. Like, and then so good on him for cutting a promo on all the fuckers out there that are just pieces of shit in my mind because like I don't understand it because this guy he's pouring his heart out. He's saying, man, like I took something from my coach. He should have been there with his mom in his dying days, but he didn't even relay that to me. Just said she had cancer, and then here we are, and then he just finds out a day before the fight, you know what I mean? So like he felt bad for his coach because his coach couldn't be there for his mom. Like that's like a friend, like my best friend. Like, you know what I mean? Like if my best friend where he was hanging out and we was clear across the country and I was like, hey man, I'm on this trip. Let's go on this trip. And his mom dies. I'm going to feel like shit too. I'm probably going to cry too.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree with you, man. And I definitely thought that was a crazy promo when he said that. And with that being said, too, like I was at like a loss of words. I was like, I don't even know how like the next guy's going to be able to come out and like beat that on the mic. And to go back into the wrestling, like you mentioned, I don't know if you know this as well, but back in 2016, I at my karate gym where I first started and everything with my original teacher. He used to train at a place called the Monster Factory, which is pretty local to Philadelphia and stuff. And he was, just being a pro wrestler for a little bit, just to kind of get back into it and have some fun. And he ended up meeting Matt Riddle and Damian Priest. And that was in 2016. So back then it was just a Punisher Martinez. And so he wasn't like anything special. And
he was fat as shit. Like
yeah. Well, he actually wasn't that big. It actually wasn't that big when I met him. There's a funny picture out there. Riddle has me picked up on his back. He's like, hold me, and Riddle is like has like a crazy pose, and like and Priest is just looking at him like, dude, what are you doing? And he did a seminar with us and for like an hour or two, and Riddle literally sparred every single one of our guys in the gym, no breaks, and just destroyed every single one of us. He's an awesome dude. I mean, it sucks with all the kind of stuff he has going on with him now, but like I said, when I met him, he was really, really solid guy.
He seems like an awesome dude. But just like a complex person that has not made maybe the smartest decisions at times. Yeah. And, but he is who he is. And you know what I mean? He's a guy that I feel like could go back into the MMA world if he wanted to and win some fights because he was that good when he was in the UFC. I think he was like 3-0 or something like that when he was in the UFC. Obviously tested positive for marijuana. I mean, performance enhancing drugs, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Jesus, what the fuck are we doing here? But
you ever see any of his interviews about that? He was like, what's the issue? Like, it's not like I'm ripping a bong cage side or something like that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're not even helping yourself. Like, just try to, you're like, come on.
I have. Big Mike from Man Cave says Riddle's like that one you can kick it with. Seems like a good guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's true. But I mean, Nate. So like, I think for Nick Diaz to get suspended for 3 years like that for marijuana is just ridiculous. Like it shows you how far we've come since that time. I think that was like 2017 or something like that when that happened. Where we are today as a society where it's legal in most states, and they don't even no sport tests for it. I don't think it anymore for marijuana anymore. So you know what I mean. So it's like it's great how far we've evolved. Speaking of Nick, I don't know about you, but I'd love to see Nick make one more comeback.
No, I don't want to see that.
No,
I love the Diaz Bros. Like I said, I got the represent gear on, I got the nunchucks on, but No,
I just
man,
I want one
right.
fight because like his last fight, him and the Robbie Lawler fight looked like two drunk uncles
Exactly.
at a barbecue fighting.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
I
don't
can
want to
watch
see Nick go
Bellator
out like
somewhere
that.
else. You know what I mean?
Huh?
I can watch Bellator somewhere else. You know what I mean? Oh,
That's true. That's true. You think speaking of the Diaz, you think Nate Diaz comes back to the UFC?
I think the money's right, maybe, but I mean, he's so hard to deal with. I feel like when it comes to the UFC, I think they're just like, he's probably just doing his own thing now. And I hope he gets that big payday with Jorge, man. And he deserves it. And he's a legend of the sport, just like Nick. But like you mentioned with Nick, man, he just looks so old out there, and the way he kind of quit in that fight, it was just like I just felt awful for him. It's just
I
like,
did too.
just hang it up, man. You shouldn't be fighting anymore. You got such a big name. Hopefully, these sponsors or somebody else can pay him, and he doesn't need to put his body on the line anymore. He's done enough for the sport.
Yeah, I marked Nick Diaz and Jorge Masvidal on fights that nobody's asked for in 2024. I don't need to see them box. Would it be great in the cage? Sure, you know what I mean. But I'm all about people getting their money, so go get your money. I hope they get a shit ton of money for it. But as a consumer of fights, I'm not going to be tuning in. You know what I mean? It's just, and I don't know if you heard this one. Speaking of fights that nobody wants to see, Terry Crews versus Anderson Spider Silva in Brazil. Who's asking for these fights, Kev?
Definitely not me. That's for sure. And I hope Anderson Silva whoops his ass. I mean, I can't believe that's even a thing. And yeah, dude. I mean, I guess I don't even know what's going on with these guys, man. I mean, I respect Anderson for getting that money, and I hope he kind of goes the Floyd route and just starts beating these random guys up and just gets some paydays here and there in Brazil or God knows where. But I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, I can't imagine me or honestly anybody wanting to watch that fight. Like I think I saw a poll of it was just like like Terry Crews is like people are like voting on him to win, and I'm like, how? You know what I mean?
Why? Yeah, there's no way. Yeah,
that's it. I mean,
yeah, it is wild as fuck. Like, I don't know why Terry Crews is doing it. Just to say he fought Anderson Silva. Like, I mean, for a certain amount of paycheck, I would go fight Anderson and just let him beat me up a round or two, and then that's it. You know what I mean? I'll take my money and go home.
Yeah. Like I said, even Anderson's kid, like Ben Davis did. I mean, I would fight him too for the right money.
Yeah.
But I mean, for God's sakes, freaking Terry Crews, I don't even know where the heck that came from. And like, why him out of all people? Like,
what's the beef? Like, what's the Chael Sonnen says we always got to know why are they fighting, right? Like, why are they? Why are they fighting? I don't really need to see that. I don't really need to see Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Will I tune in? Yes, because it's Mike Tyson, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's 60-year-old Mike Tyson, but it's still Mike Tyson. And your brain is, you know what I mean? It's just like my brain's still programmed to remember what Mike Tyson was when I was a kid and before that. Like this, I've watched so many of those highlights and the 20 fights and all that. So my brain's like, oh, it's Mike Tyson. He's gonna do it. It's Mike Tyson. And then my other brain's like, no, you dumbass. Like, clear out the bong residue and beer. Like, he's 63-year-old Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think about that fight. I was just talking to my mom about that because obviously my mom was watching Mike Tyson and she was like, oh yeah, Mike Tyson's gonna win. And I'm like, I don't know. And it's just like I kind of had a feeling that this was gonna happen with Jake Paul getting in this scene because if you remember, I think it was Jake and Logan when they first started, Mike Tyson, I think, was their coach or a big advocator with this stuff.
Yeah.
It just seemed like that, Mike Tyson's obviously always down to make some money. It just seemed like one of these days, eventually he was going to be that guy to do it. And it's going to be interesting how it turns out, man. And I really have no idea how to predict that fight. I think Jake Paul's probably going to win, but it's just I don't even know what to expect anymore.
I don't either. I don't even know how it got sanctioned. Like, who sanctioned it? Like, Texas has no fucking rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the money's right. They'll sanction anything nowadays. You know what I mean? Who knows? I have no idea either.
Yeah. She said Mike looked like an old man in his expedition. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. You know who else looked like an old man? If you remember, Evander Holyfield, I think he fought like what was it, Vitor Belfort or something like that. He freaking threw like a crazy hook and like he freaking like fell into the ropes like he was about to get like 619 by Mysterio. And I was like, I gotta turn this off. This is horrible. Like this is like I can't believe that these guys like it makes me feel horrible because it's like these guys are legends of the sport. These guys put their time in, and it's just like, why do you have to be 60, 70 years old, like still fighting? And like
part of it is, I think part of it, and we know part of it is financial, right? Like a lot of them didn't get paid, especially those early guys didn't get paid worth a damn. And you know what I mean? Now the UFC is obviously making billions.
Oh yeah.
And then when they did get paid, they didn't set themselves up correctly, going forward too. All together. But yeah, you're right about the Tyson. Let me ask you. Yesterday, Usyk and Fury. What was your thoughts?
Dude, that was a great fight. I mean, it was an incredible fight to watch. I mean, just in general, man. My friend is a huge boxing fan, and he's been a huge Usyk fan for a very, very long time, and he was riding the Usyk train for a while, and shout out to him for predicting it right, man. And like I said, Usyk is he's a beast, and I don't watch a ton of boxing. I'll be honest. I'm definitely a boxing casual. I only turn in when it's the big fights. So
same.
I think the hardest thing for me when it comes to watching boxing is I have a hard time scoring the fights. Like I watch the rounds and it's like so quick for me, and I'm just like, I don't even know who won that fight. So, but then also sometimes it's like I feel like the guy won, and then like there's like some really nutty decision, and then it's like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I also feel like I just wasted my time sometimes. Like I remember there was a couple Manny Pacquiao fights where I think he might have lost or won. I can't remember, but it was just like I thought for sure he won, and then the boxing judges had it completely different. So I don't really understand it that much, if I'm being honest. But I try to tune in whenever they have some big fights.
I'm very the same way. I'm a kind of a casual too, like that. I'll try to tune in. I don't like. You can only like my biggest gripe with boxing is like the card itself is like you don't know anybody's name other than the main event.
That's
where
right.
At least last night like the Apex is the Apex. I hate it. I think I don't know one fight fan that's like, yeah, I love the Apex cards, especially right now, as bad as they've been. But we tune in. And it's like, oh, I know this fighter, right? Like I know Chaos Williams. I've seen probably 4 or 5 of maybe all 8 of his fights in the UFC. I know Lerone Murphy. Everybody obviously knows Edwinson Barbosa, but they have even Adrian Yanez was on that card last night. So they have some names that even in their like bad, weeks, that's like, I can tune in even on the undercard to get to the main event, where boxing is like, who the fuck is this guy? I don't even know who these guys are. It's just wild.
Yeah, I mean, like the betting lines and stuff too are just like ridiculous. Like they'll just be like a minus 2,000 favorite, and it's just like, why is this fight even booked? And it's just like same thing with these boxers too. I mean, they just like it seems like they just pad the record. I mean, I think I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but obviously I think Floyd did that for a good year and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's probably a lot of fighters trying to take that blueprint. That is the one thing I do respect about MMA is like these guys are willing to fight the best and pretty much all the time. So I think that's also the big thing that boxing needs to hopefully change. So I think Ryan Garcia is a big person that is actually like, he's a big name and he's willing to fight anybody. So I definitely give him a lot of props and respect no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. He's polarizing. I'll say that about Mr. Garcia.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know. I have a hard time giving him a lot of credit when you throw up 3 pounds, miss weight. But it is what it is. Let me ask you on some up and coming fighters. Like, who are some guys? So I kind of have a guy in every division that I really like. That maybe not be the champ, but a guy you're like, hey, I think this guy's like a future champ. So for instance, like I called Tom Aspinall being a future champ like 2-3 years, like 2020, about the first or second time I ever saw him fight. I was like, oh, he's going to be a future champ. I've been high on Shavkat Rakhmonov for, before the hype train really took off. Who's some guys like that to you that you're kind of high on, that you're like, oh, this is a guy I think is going to be a future champ?
Oh, man. I mean, that's honestly a really tough question. I was trying to think through that one the whole time you were talking. I mean, man, there's a lot of guys nowadays that I mean, I interviewed him, but you know, I think he probably could have a better performance. But he was in a dogfight. But I think he's a sleeper, and not a lot of people know him yet. It's Trey Waters, man. I think Trey Waters is a beast. I think if he's able to fight the fight with his jab and just kind of keep people away, man, he's could be a problem. And you know, I think a lot of people were like, oh, you know, it wasn't the best of fights, and I just think Billy brought a fight that he wasn't expecting, honestly, and. Yeah, I think he could be, you know, a potential problem one day. Like I said, maybe it's going to take him a couple more fights. Might have a couple bumps in the road, but I mean, he's a long, tall guy for the division, and I think he's an interesting name that not a lot of people know about yet. And I think they'll find out soon.
Yeah, I'm with you on there. It seems like some hype trains have been derailed lately. Just what MMA BG comment here makes me think she is in love with not Shavkat, but Hamzat Chimaev. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Hamzat and Robert Whitaker? That's going to be Hamzat's biggest test to date. I am, first of all, they're not a nicer guy. It seems the interviews and greater guy than you know Bobby Knuckles out there. But your thoughts on that fight coming up?
Well, first of all, man, Hamzat's always a funny story to me. Like I mentioned earlier, my friend that was a fan of Usyk, he's one of my best friends in real life. His name's Eric, and when he was watching Hamzat and he first came up, he's been like his biggest fan, and he always messed with me, you know, doing Taekwondo. He's like, oh man, you know, like, do you think you could take Hamzat? I'm like, dude, shut the hell up. Like, what the fuck? And like,
hey, if you get past the first 5 minutes with Hamzat, you might be all right.
If I take the first, like, if I'm lucky to take the first 30 seconds with that guy, I'm freaking running for my life. That guy's a nut. Yeah, he's out of his mind. But anyways, yeah, like from being from Philadelphia, I know Joe Piper's girlfriend. I grew up with her and everything like that. So we'd always joke around and be like, oh, wait till Joe Piper.
That's another guy I like a lot is Joe Piper.
Yeah.
He's incredible. The story of his like life is incredible to me.
Yeah. No, like I said, you know, we would always joke with each other about like if I could fight him and Joe Piper and all that little stuff. But getting back to the fight, it's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, especially because Hamzat was like, I like Robert Whitaker. I don't want this fight. Does he really like him, or does he think Robert Whitaker can maybe give him some holes in his game? I don't know. But at the end of the day, man, I think Hamzat's just too good on the ground for these guys, and his pressure is scary, and he's gonna be the champ one day. It's just a matter of when, in my opinion.
Man, I don't know. I thought of initially, but since the Gilbert Burns fight where he looked gassed, and Gilbert kind of took him into deeper waters, I've had like red flags, and obviously the Kamaru fight. You know what I mean? That's another fight where it's like Kamaru just came off the couch and really gave it to you, and that's you know I mean there's like no shame even if he lost to like Kamaru Usman and like. That's Kamaru Usman, one of the best fighters of all time, you know. So it's not at the same. So it's always weird. It's always weird. I love how like the media and even us as fans, like or myself as a fan, like we always give the guy like who took the short notice fight, who wasn't in camp, like oh he came off the couch in like 2 weeks, but the other guy wasn't training for this guy either, and is taking the fight on short notice too. So it's always weird how we give the guy who really wasn't in training camp, even though they're always training, you know, the love about taking a short notice fight, but we also got to give respect to the guy who also took the fight as well.
Yeah, man. I definitely agree with you there. And yeah, like I said, Hamzat's an interesting case, but I think Dana White dropped this nugget in one of these interviews that I think is really interesting that people need to pay more attention to, especially these nutty gamblers out there. Dana White is he mentioned that he does the star building, and I think star building is a very big key that you really need to pay attention to nowadays. And with a guy like Robert Whitaker that's fought like Yoel Romero,
he's fought the who's who. Yeah,
beast. He's fought like DDP, all these guys, and he's getting up there in age. I love Robert Whitaker. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. He's one of the best martial artists out there. He'd be a guy I'd love to train with one day and just meet him. He's fantastic. But you know, like I said, I think certain guys nowadays, especially with how the UFC is growing, you got to be careful with these matchups. And I think, like I said, with Dana White mentioning that, he knows what he's got in Hamzat. He knows that Robert Whitaker's he's been the champ. He's kind of been there, done that. This is kind of the next.
I will say that you're right. They try to match the older guy and build the name up, but this has been the year, you know, where guys have kind of said, nah, Dustin Poirier, right? I mean, they tried to build Benoit Saint D off of Poirier. Hey, what's Poirier?
You are right
you know
there.
what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. So maybe it's just like, can they do it again? I mean, look at Jose Aldo. They try to do the same thing. The last, UFC 302, like, hey, or 301, we're gonna do, Jose Aldo. We're gonna bring in this young kid. You're gonna beat him. That'll give you the shine to put you over. Guess what? Unlike wrestling and professional wrestling, where the guy usually goes over, this is fighting. This is real. And it doesn't always work in their favor. And then the old dog still got the new trick. You know what I mean? Still got it.
Yeah, no, like I said, man, Robert Whitaker's awesome, and I kind of would be rooting for him, and like I said, it would be awesome to see him win, but Khamzat's awesome too. I wouldn't mind either one of them winning at the end of the day, but who knows? But I think genuinely, like I said, Khamzat's pressure is going to be tough to beat if he's able to keep up with it, and his wrestling is just really, really insane, and it'll be a fun fight, and like I mentioned earlier, too, I mean, Khamzat did say that he didn't want that fight. He did say he respected Robert. So now he's kind of getting pushed into it. So I guess we'll have to find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're going to find out. It's the biggest challenge of Khamzat's career so far. That's for sure. I want to ask you, I got a couple more quick questions before we get up out of here, Kev. I appreciate you again taking some time out and coming on.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
DP versus Islam, main event in 2 weeks. I don't know how. I don't see a path for DP, but by God, I'm praying or hoping or whatever, lighting all the candles I can, putting on the James Brown music, eating all the Louisiana food I can for that whole entire week, hoping that I can speak it into existence that DP gets it done. What's your thoughts there?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I will be at that card live since it's in Newark, so I'll be pretty cool to see who does that one. So I just I just interviewed Tim Crater, so I'm sorry if he sees this, but like I said, man, I just it's kind of like you said, Islam's a problem, man. He's one of the best in the division, and his performances against like Volk and stuff, man. He's on a different level right now, man, and it's gonna be tough to beat. And I don't know what it is. I almost feel like Dustin Poirier is getting like forced into retirement. Everyone's like, is this going to be his last fight? Is this going to be his last fight? I feel like he's got a little bit more left in the tank, even if he does win or lose. But
what's next for him, though? You know what I mean? Like, 3 cracks at the title. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get another. There's not very many. I mean, Colby Covington got 3 cracks, and it seemed like he had to do less to get the 3 cracks than DP did. But the 3 cracks at the title is just like, I don't know he better hope that they open up a 165 if he loses, because that would be the only way.
Yeah, no, that'd be a fun one. I don't know what the UFC's waiting on with that. I think the more weight classes, the better. Not even just for 165. I think some of these women deserve some other weight classes too, man. You know what I mean?
Poor Kayla Harrison, right?
Or whatever. Yeah, just what I mean, why not? You know what I mean? I don't know why it's limited. You know what I mean? I think the more fighters, the better when it comes to that stuff. It's only going to help the sport grow, and why not? But I guess they also don't want to be like boxing and have a million titles and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I see your point, but I see their point too, because the problem with boxing is there's 20,000 weight classes, and you can't figure out who's who and what's what all the time. But sometimes short and simple. Sometimes my old basketball coach used to tell me, keep it simple, stupid. So sometimes that's the best way.
Yeah, and like I said, man, when you watch boxing, these guys will have like 50 belts on, and it's like, I don't even know where the hell they got this belt, and this belt.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. So
what's up, Benj? Agreed. So you think Islam, I hope DP wins, but I think we're both in agreement it's probably going to be Islam, but
yeah, I would think so. But I mean, he's like a massive favorite. He's got the wrestling advantage, but you don't know. I mean, Dustin Poirier could definitely crack him. I mean, like you mentioned, he's kind of got nothing to lose at this point, so he might just be like, F it, man, I'm gonna just go out and swing for the fences. He's also fought a guy like Khabib, who's he's kind of seen that style somewhat, so he might be able to kind of prepare for it a little bit better. But I have no idea. I just don't really see a giant path for him to win. But I hope he does. It's gonna be pretty sick to see live, and maybe he wins just freaking throws down the gloves as a champ or something. Who knows? Yeah,
I was at the we went to the UFC St. Louis card last week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so I live here in Missouri, so it's about an hour and a half.
Awesome.
So you mentioned Terrence McKinney. I'll give you a quick Terrence McKinney story real fast. And then so Terrence was at the meet and greet. So I went to the ceremonial weigh-ins. I met up with. He came on my podcast, Brad, the Cut Man. Brad Tate.
Yeah, I tried to get him on too. He's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, great guy. Met up with him, and then I went to the meet and greet. Well, Terrence was there. Like, he wasn't in line. Like, Charles Woodson was in line, like standing at the end of the line, and then like Buckley showed up for like 30 seconds, and then he just disappeared. I didn't see him the rest of the time, and then. But Terrence was there, and I took a picture with him. And I've been like you, I've been DMing Terrence like a bunch of times, like, "Hey, right. Terrence, love to have you on my podcast. Would you mind coming on my podcast?" And then I saw him in person. I said, "Terrence, man, I've been messaging you about coming on my podcast." "Oh, you have?" "Yeah." He's like, "You stationed here?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I'm not in St. Louis, but I was just like, it was obviously over Zoom, right, like this." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, text me." I'm like, in my brain. Kev, I was like, "Text you, motherfucker. You ain't even giving me your fucking phone number. How am I supposed to text you?" You know what I mean? Like, I didn't say that out loud, but I was just like, "Hey, man, whatever." Like, I just chalked it up to like, I ain't, whatever. It's cool. That's all good, right? So calm as a motherfucker. The fight. I like Terrence, and I got no bad will. I have no bad, like anything bad against him. I'm a fan of his. And so we go to the fight. I'm like, me and my wife, we go get a drink and something to eat. We're in line, and I hear Bruce calling out Terrence's name. They're doing the introductions. I'm like, shit, baby. I know one thing about Terrence McKinney fights. They don't last long, whether win or lose. Like, I'm like, baby, this fight going to be over before we even get our fucking food. And sure enough, Terrence gets fucking slapped. And Kev, I mean, I yelled about as loud as I could. I was like, "He slapped him. Holy shit, he fucking slapped him." Like, everybody in line is looking at me like, the fuck? I'm like, sorry, I'm just passionate about this shit.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That's funny though, man. You just got to keep on Terrence, I think. You know what I mean? And he'll probably get on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll DM again this week or something. Yeah. But I've been, I've been asking him, and it was nothing personal. You know what I mean? I just know how I know how, you busy, whatever. So I never take it personal. But I just thought it was funny. Let me ask you two quick questions. First. If you were to play matchmaker of the UFC, what's the biggest fight you think the UFC can make?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know if it's the biggest, man, but, I think it would be an interesting fight to kind of do at the moment. I mean, I think Colby and Ian would be a fun one to just kind of be like one of the bigger ones. I don't know if it would be the biggest one to make at the moment, but I think that would definitely be a fun one for sure. That would get a lot of fans' attention. I mean, they would just be going at it back and forth. And I think that would draw a lot of attention. I mean, I don't know if Colby still has that star power now after losing, but I think that would be a fun one to watch when it comes to just like the media and all that stuff. But yeah, man, I don't really know. That's honestly a great question, but I think
that's what I do here, Kevin. Ask great questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. You got me stumped, man. But what I'd like to personally see is MVP just against anybody, man. He's the man, and I think MVP and Wonder Boy. It might not be the best of fights, but man, I'd love to tune into that if I was playing match.
Yeah, you're a karate type taekwondo guy. That's right up your alley. Two guys that fit that mold. You're right though. Like, they've even said they may not be. I think they both kind of said like, you guys probably don't think it would be as good as it's not going to be as good as everybody thinks, because it would just be like a karate type. Yeah. I think MVP and Wonder Boy both kind of said that. Like, yeah, we got similar striking styles. It's probably going to be now. They'll be like, it'll be good for us, like mentally, but fan aspect, they'd be like, it'd be boring to the fans.
Yeah.
So, last question. Biggest guest you would want to ever come on the Crazy Kev MMA show?
Oh, man, I just said it. My man, Michael Page, man. That's the one. I would love to have him on. And, like I mentioned before, the Diaz bros would be cool. I guess as well, too. Mayhem Miller, if I wanted to go for a legend as well, too. Like I said, I've been going back and forth with him a little bit. And I don't know if he's down for an interview. But like I said, man, that would be sick to kind of have, like, Michael Page or Diaz bros, just anybody like that. But at the end of the day, man, I just enjoy doing it, whether you're an amateur, whether you're a pro, whatever. The fact that I can say, hey, I talked to you for 15 minutes and I was a part of your journey and your career, and I might have helped you or maybe gave you a cool question that you liked, that's at the end of the day, that's why I do it. You know what I mean? I'm a martial arts instructor. I love what I do. I'd love to have my own school. And if nothing comes out of this, like, interviewing stuff, it is what it is. I just like doing it. And yeah, at the end of the day, hopefully Michael Page sees this, man. He's the man. And that would definitely be one of my goals because speaking about those Taekwondo tournaments, back in 2016, he just had one of his like sweet finishes. Might have been that cyborg knockout. I can't remember if that was 2016. So don't quote me on that. But one of his sick finishes, I was like, dude, I need to watch this guy's like highlights. I need to do more about him. And he was doing all that like showboat and stuff and all that stuff. So I went to the Taekwondo tournament that same day after watching everything. So I'm in there with my hands down. I'm doing like fancy stuff, my hands. Guys, you'll find it on YouTube. There's a YouTube short of it. And I was like doing all kinds of fancy stuff like him the whole tournament just because I was watching him. So it'd be an honor to train with him, meet that guy. Just even say hi to him would just be like crazy to me if I had to pick one guy for sure.
Hey, much, yeah. That's a good one. And you got that local, you know what I mean? Like that's like your person that you, definitely. That's good. So obviously, I told you before the end of the show, I always do my dog and turd of the week. I don't know. You're like, yeah, I could do it. Maybe not. Maybe so. But I'll go first. If you want to pass on turd of the week, I'll go first though. So my turd of the week is none other than Edwin Diaz, the closer of the New York Mets, giving up 4 home runs in his last 8 innings. His ERA is over 10 right now. Edwin Diaz, who's getting a shit ton of money from the Mets, is my turd of the week.
Okay. I would say, I'm not going to do MMA, obviously, just, because I'm doing the fighters and stuff. But if I had to say turd of the week, any one of you Dallas Cowboys fans that are watching this video, you're all turds. That's what I got to say.
Do you got a dog of the week?
Dog of the week for what? The upcoming fights?
It can be any, well, like a dog of the week is somebody that did something did something like won or like, grinded it out, this past week.
Oh man. Dog of the week. I would say it's Mr. Hands, Chase Hooper, man. You know what I mean? He's a freaking, he definitely came out there and he put on a show, man. He knocked somebody down. He put on a show as the dog. And yeah, I think he's my dog.
All right. My dog of the week is the newly crowned heavyweight champion of the world, Alexander Usyk. He was losing in the middle rounds, took one mean uppercut from Tyson, but he kept moving forward, and then he damn near knocked his ass out. Should have knocked him out, but he wins the fight. The heavyweight champion of the world, Alexander Usyk, is my dog of the week, baby.
That's awesome. That is definitely awesome. Great pick.
Thank you. Kev, before we get up out of here, again, I appreciate you joining me on this Sunday.
Anytime.
Let the people know where they can find you and tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, man. Thank you again so much. I was definitely blown away by your message that you'd want to work with me. I was like, oh, why you even want to talk to me? You know what I mean? I'm just a guy, just a guy, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, like I said, I appreciate it. I've only been doing this interviews for a couple months. I've only been on X as an MMA personality for a couple months. So just the fact that if like you like my tweets, you comment on it, it sounds pretty lame, but I definitely love it. I definitely appreciate it. All the love, all the support. Even if you don't like me, you just comment, you don't like me, you're hating, it is what it is. I definitely, appreciate any of you guys that check out my stuff. When it comes to my channel, man, I'm KrazyKevMMa on YouTube. I got a lot of interviews. I got 41 posted right now, but I have so many more interviews that I have to just get up there, man. It stresses me out. These freaking captions take forever to edit and do that stuff. But a lot of good content to come out with that kind of stuff. Yeah, my social medias are Real Kevin K on X and Instagram. And I got my TikTok as well as KrazyKevMMa. So pretty much everywhere, just trying to grow, just trying to do my own thing. So if any of you guys want to follow, DM me, any sort of advice, just want to talk to me. You know what I mean? I'm down for whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm just a guy, just like any of you guys that are doing this. And if anyone wants to start this like MMA stuff, my best advice to you guys is just straight up do it. You know what I mean? Why not? Who cares what these people are going to say? Who cares what's going to happen? And worst case, it doesn't work out. You know what I mean? You got to have fun with it. You can't worry about your followers. You can't worry about these likes. You know, obviously I want to try and promote my stuff. I obviously want to get more views and that kind of thing, but you can't let it stress you out. You just got to do it for the love of it. And if you're not loving it, it's going to show in your content. It's going to show what you do. And yeah, just, you know, do what you love. And if it's MMA, if it's, you know, all different sports, just freaking do it, man. Don't worry about what these people are going to say behind the camera, because there was a good quote that somebody said that, you know, there's not a lot of haters out there that are more successful to you. You know what I mean? So a lot of these guys that are hating, they're probably, you know, they got a little jealousy to them. So don't let it bother you. And, you know, if you're trying to do interviews like with Terrence McKinney, if he's not answering you, don't let it bother you, man. You know what I mean? Just keep on him, keep grinding. And eventually you're going to get to that point where Terrence McKinney's going to be asking you for an interview. You know what I mean?
Amen to that. Yeah, I always say this, like, I never got into like this podcasting type stuff really to make it like financial, right? Like, would I love it? Like, yes, you know what I mean? Like, I would be a fool to say I didn't. Right. But I did this. I do it because like this, like a hobby. It's something I like to do. So I don't ever really care like how many views or how many people are watching. Like, I only care about two things. Like, am I having a good time? And it's my guest or co-host that when I do other shows, are they having a good time? And if the answer is yes, then we're doing all right. Then that's all that matters to me. So, I had a good time with you, Kevin. I appreciate you jumping on and talking some MMA with me, your background in Taekwondo and everything else. This has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show, folks. I'll be back tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern, with the Let's Talk Sports Show and all the gang. We'll talk all these Game 7s. We'll talk a little hockey with Jim Behringer, and we'll talk a little baseball, obviously, with Jonathan Grisham. So be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. I'm going to hit that outro. We'll see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, with the new episode of the Let's Talk Sports Show. See y'all then.